This is hurting me more than feeding me. This is just not, I don't want to do this anymore. Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of Yip To My Yap. And this one is special because it's been a year. It's been 52 episodes of nonsense and whatever lovely stuff come to my mind that week. Hi. I'm so excited for this one because I'm doing this episode the way I did, my first 5 months of episodes where there was no prep, just kind of showed up. It was like, so what are we talking about today? And I don't even know what to say. I'm going to tell you guys everything that I've learned about podcasting. I'm going to tell you all the disappointments, all the things that made me happy, all the reasons I kept going and all that good stuff because I'm really proud of this. I don't know. I don't know if it's because of the kind of person I am or if I've done enough that's worth being proud of, but I think I have, and I think that's more than enough. That should give you enough insight into the way that I think, as it is. So let's just start about the beginning. Why are we here? Something I should have talked about in the very first episode. I'm Erica Starr, if you didn't already know. Nice to meet you. And I don't shut up. That's my thing. I just don't stop talking. Since I was a wee little thing, I just never shut the fuck up. And as I've gotten older, I've realized I'm just a talkative person. I've got the gift of the gab, I'd like to think. And, anytime I meet anyone for the first time, some way, somehow we get into a random deep conversation and it's great and it's lovely. And it's just something that I like to do. There was this one time in, I want to say May of last year, I'm hanging out with some people. I wasn't even hanging out, I was working, but it was the end of our gig. And, I had just met these people that month and we finally got time to speak. And one of them had said something acting as if I knew him for longer than I did. He was like, hold on, we've only known each other for 3 weeks. I'm like, yep. And he was like, why do I feel like I've known you for longer? And then we got into that. And then he was like, you know what, you should start a podcast. He was like, you're really easy to talk to. He was just like, anyone who I know that's spoken to you, within the people that we worked with, seems to have a pretty close connection to you. And I don't get it. I was like, we all thought that we've known you for at least a year. And I'm like, yeah, I think I had that effect on people. I didn't know I had that effect on people, but that's part of it. You gotta just kind of walk the walk, talk the talk, And I was just like, really, I should start a podcast. And I've always thought about it and I just didn't know. And, people make jokes like, oh, you talk so much, you may as well start a podcast, yada, yada, yada. But it's it's just a joke. It's just a joke. Until I started thinking, and I'm always behind the camera. I'm a videographer. When I'm not doing this, I'm always just editing. I'm always in a dark room, just working. But as you guys have probably figured out by now, I love being in front of the camera. I love myself. I love talking. I love looking at myself. I like dressing cute. I like doing my makeup. I like doing my hair. I'm just a freaking girl, And I was like, how can I be front facing on social media in an organic way? Because I can't do the influencer thing in the sense of I'm going to set my phone here, I'm going to walk out the room, and I'm going to walk back into the room as if it was my first time walking into the room. That's just not me. And I was just like, how can I be as me as possible in as natural of a way as possible without overproducing? And I was like, you know what? A podcast. Because once the cameras and lights are set up, it's just us being us. Me and my guests, it's literally just us talking the way we were before the camera started rolling. And I was like, okay, wait, that's doable. And I'm a very type A person. And this is where we're getting into the organization skills that you need to start any type of project on social media. So, the first thing I did when I started thinking about putting this podcast together was what is the rollout going to be on a regular basis? How many social media posts are we doing? How many episodes do I want per week? How am I setting this up? How am I reaching out to people? At what point should I expect people to start reaching out to me? It's just a lot of thinking. And so I started watching all these YouTube videos from all the social media gurus and just seeing what works for me. Something I saw that from what I can tell, a lot of podcasts haven't done that. I'm sorry. I'm gassy today. What did I eat? What the hell did I eat? I had a Philly cheesesteak, and that's why I'm a little right now. So forgive me. But yeah, watching social media gurus, carousels do really well for people and it helps with reach and stuff. So I was like, okay, I am gonna do social media posts for a while until I have the time and the energy to make carousels. Because think about it. For every episode that I post, this is how my brain is working. There's the recording day. And then when it comes to editing, there is the first run through that I just watch the episode and I just cut out the chunks that just either don't make sense or make the episode way too long or just like, we can live without this without taking away, just who the guest and I are as people. Like I just, there's just certain chunks or like, and I hate to put it this way, but sometimes, especially when like the guests are just like loosely speaking, they tend to sound like not smart or they misspeak. And like, I don't want to play them. So I'm like, you know what? I just figure out ways to cut out those chunks because it's not my job to make my guests look stupid. It's not. However, if you're someone who everything that comes out of your mouth is just either wild or just just being a little odd is you, I'm letting the camera roll. I can't save you because if it was up to me to delete everything that came off, I delete the whole episode. And I'm saying that because I've only had, I think, like 2 instances where that happened. And another instance where the episode never even aired. I didn't even talk about it. It was just like, nope. So then the second step, what is the second step for me? The second step for me, and this might be because of the situation that I'm in the space where I record, I'm sitting very close to the guests. Now, typically in like successful podcasts, from what I've researched and stuff, the two people, minimum two people are sitting very far from each other. So there's very minimal mic bleed. And if you don't know what mic bleed is, it's when, let's say I'm talking and then the next person starts their sentence a little bit before I end mine, and you can hear their echo in my mic. And it's not fun. Or if I'm just not speaking at all and they speak, and when you listen to the audio, there's an echo because my mic is picking up their audio. And it doesn't sound clean. And if you listen to like my first, I want to say like 5, 6, maybe 10 episodes, you hear it. And it's because I was recording with 2 mics that took its audio, that recorded its audio on one track. And then I figured out the settings and stuff. Everything's trial and error. You will learn that. So I learned how to work with I learned how to work with 2 tracks. And what that meant was cleaning the audio tracks for each track for every episode. That is anywhere between 50 minutes to now 2 hours long. Girl. It's the most tedious part of the editing process, but until I can get a bigger space to record in, it'll have to do. Yeah, it's literally every time one person's not speaking, I'm literally just cutting out the audio in between that point and when the person speaks again. And I'm doing it for both tracks. And, sometimes if 2 people are speaking at once, I'll lower one person's audio and I'll keep whoever's saying the more important thing, I'll keep their audio higher. And it's just a lot. It's a lot. And like, you can imagine, I have some episodes where it's very, I talk, you talk, I talk, you talk. And then I have the ones with my friends where it's just a big old mess. And they're my favorite to watch, but they're the hardest to edit. So there's that. And then I have a last run through, and that's where I'm watching it at its regular pace, because when I'm doing the audio thing and I'm just like, cutting out the chunks and stuff, I'm watching it in double time. But for the last run through, this is just my like quality check, just making sure it's good for YouTube. I'm looking at it its regular pace, and that's when I add my lower thirds, which is the people's names and stuff. That's when I figure out what's going to be my snippet for the beginning. If it wasn't already obvious, because a lot of times when I'm recording, I know what was like the craziest thing said to put at the beginning. But if not, as I'm watching, I'll scan through and I'll just like, wait to hear something that sounds like it'll be cool at the beginning, or something that's very cliffhanger-ish, I'll add in the little slideshow wipes that I do between cuts, because that's another thing. When you're just starting, you only have one camera. And until I can get a second camera, we're going to have those wipes. And they're not my favorite thing. Like they're cool, I guess. They're fine. But if it were up to me, I would like a smooth edit between, cuts of the guests and a wide shot of me and the guest. But that could also be the videographer side in me that's just kind of like thinking too hard, because a lot of times people listening don't care, but I care. and quality is my thing. So yeah. And then, so I watched that through, ha ha ha, kiki, it's amazing. And then I publish to YouTube and I schedule it. And then I watch again, also in double time. And that's where I'm looking for all my social media snippets. And that's where like I'll cut up the vague sections of what my social media snippets will be. I'll label them a different color and then I put them in a different sequence. For those of you who edit, you get what I'm saying. But if you don't, just hang in there. And then in my other sequence, which is essentially just like another tab in my editing software, that's when I start editing the social media posts. So you can see how every episode takes about a week to edit. So that, in addition to, well, no, just, okay, think of that, the whole editing process of the episode, plus carousels. My brain for a while, for the first 6 months, was not ready to start doing the carousels, because on carousels, that's a whole other process where after every picture you see behind the text in those carousels, I took. Unless it's a very obvious one, like I took like a screenshot of like a brand name or something because it was very relevant to the post, very different. But I took all those pictures, and it's because when I'm out, I'm actively looking for sceneries, cute things, or just like, you know, things that have to do with stuff that I post on Threads. And yeah, so that's going through my head at all times. And I always have to have enough photos. I always think about it. I need at least, I want to say like 18 usable photos per episode rollout. That's hard. Like, at least for my brain to be actively thinking about that stuff all the time. So I do the 2 carousels per week, and I post them. I decided to post them in a way that would, like, you know, just look nice on my feed. I post them every 3rd post so that by the time a certain number are out, they all look like they're going like in a diagonal, and it's really cute. I committed to that. I'm very much a person for aesthetics, at least like organization wise. And it just worked for my brain. And this is something I'm going to keep coming back to. Like, do what works for your brain. This is how I think. Some people think very differently, and their feed would look completely different if they go by how their brain works. That's completely fine. But this is what works for me. And that's why I've been able to be so consistent. And even then, when I started doing the carousels, I didn't think I was 100% ready. But if you don't just put your foot down with yourself and say, girl, you got to start now. Like, if it's not now, you're never going to get to it. Then it's not going to happen. So in February, I was like, okay, we're starting the carousels. We're doing it. And everyone loved them. And I always get a decent amount of reach on my carousels. And I'm just like, okay, this is cool. Because if you're not here for the social media posts, like the podcast snippets, you're here for the carousels. Like, people really enjoy it. But it's also because I completely wrote every carousel that you see. Like, it's very me. Like, the same voice is writing every carousel. These aren't taken off of AI. Do I go to ChatGPT to help me like brainstorm topics? Yes. But I'm not asking it, can you write this carousel for me? I just go through topics, yada, yada, yada. I see which ones align most with whatever my current episode is, whatever. And then from there, I just start thinking. Like, thinking is so underrated, because that's another thing. Do things that make your mind start going. Like, I don't know how else to say that. I mean, there's so many other ways to say it. But just stay inspired. And this is something that I've taken from someone who's going to be a podcast guest, which is why I'm not saying his name, but you'll hear it when his episode comes out. Stay inspired. Do things that keep you inspired. For me, it's so weird going to the gym. My mind is just going a mile a minute. It's just like, I don't know. When I'm at the gym, my brain is just doing reps and sets, reps and sets, reps and sets. So for whatever reason, it just allows the creative part of my brain to just start, I don't know. It just explodes. And that's where I get a lot of my ideas. But if you don't put yourself in a place that allows you to be creative or allows your brain to wander, it's going to be really hard to come up with things. So yeah. What else do I do for the podcast? I post, Instagram stories. Those come naturally. I've been doing that since I was like 17, just talking shit on my stories. But yeah, that's just what the back end stuff looks like when it comes to organizing everything behind the scenes. When it comes to reaching out to guests and guests coming up to me for a chance to be a guest on the pod, I've learned so many things about people. And I can tell you all these things, but you're not going to learn these things unless you go through them yourself. But let me be a cautionary tale. you have to know when to say no to people when they want to be on your pod. Because let's talk about the person whose episode never aired. He was someone, overall cool person, chill person, cool, whatever. Um, but something something was off throughout the whole episode recording. It was very obvious that he had like a crush on me. And like I don't care if you have a crush on me. Like that's not a problem. But if you're making it a problem for the podcast, yeah, it's a problem. That's kind of what happened. It just felt like he was getting lost in the fact that we're hanging out, I guess, and he couldn't keep. I hate when my dog does that. I'm just letting you into everything. That sound you just heard is my dog shaking. And he does it every time I put him down. And he's digging into my bed right now. Beatty, stop. So, as annoyed as I was just now is how annoyed that guy got me when he wasted my time for a whole 3 hours because he couldn't finish a story. Like, he would start somewhere and there was no end. And I was like, why did you even bring that up? And he's like, oh, I swear, like, I'm going to get back to it. And it just didn't work. And I was like, oh my gosh. And this is when you start realizing how seriously or not seriously you take your craft. And I know craft sounds like a heavy word, but like, I've been putting work into this. I'm going to call it what it is. This is for people who want to be podcasters anyway. So I would hope that you get it. But you're going to learn that some people are just not good people. Or at least like don't care about what it is that you're working on. I've had people show up 2 hours late. And this is gonna happen in the beginning because you need guests. You need people. Like the hardest part about doing this is relying on other people. I have always said this from the jump. Relying on other people sucks, especially when you're passionate about something because you need people who are either just as passionate, just as excited. And it's hard to find. It's hard to find creative people. And I can imagine outside of New York, it's even harder because in New York, we had a bunch of, hustle and bustle creatives. But even then, it's difficult, Like you don't know where to start. You know where to look on Instagram. If you don't already follow a set number of creatives who are very much in line with who you are, you're like, oh my God, like, I guess I'm going to go on Google and say top NYC creators, Like I've done all the things. But yeah, you're going to run into people who make it so obvious that this is just a side quest for them, that this is just something that they were bored. They were like, oh, cool, I could do this. Let me hit her up. I'm like, no. And you will soon figure out how to weed out the people who care and the people who don't. You could tell from the way that they DM you. Like there was this one girl, one of my guests. It was, I'm not going to say names, but one of my guests. You can scroll through or whatever. Her online persona did not match the way that she messaged me at all. I had followed her because I wanted her on the pod, but I was iffy to reach out because her online persona came off as someone who wouldn't care for being on time, wouldn't care enough to care. And I just had her followed and I was just like, you know what? Like, I'll just see if anything changes in the way that I feel because I vibe check everybody. And then she ended up DMing me. And in her DM, she was just so nice and so polite and just so organized and so timely with her responses. She was just like, I don't know what your scouting process is like, but if I may. And I was like, if I may? I don't even speak like that. I was like, yes, you may. That is so nice. And I was just like, this is someone who cares. Like I said, cares enough to care. And it's stuff like that that makes it very obvious who is going to be a good guest or who cares enough to be a good guest or who's going to even try enough to be a guest that you want on the pod. Like the biggest thing I always say, it's like, if someone's excited, they're going to respond on time. I've had people who just kind of like fell off. Like I'll post a call out and they're like, yeah, I'm interested. And then I message them back and I don't get a message until 2-3 weeks later. And it's either, like I give them benefit of the doubt if they give me like a solid reason as to why they couldn't get back to me, or I just let it fade out and I'm just like, it wasn't meant to be. It really wasn't. Like I can only be up so many people's asses. And especially if you came to me first to be on the pod and then have the nerve to respond late, you lost me. I'm sorry. So that's that. If you're gonna start a podcast with guests, and when you start off, you're only gonna have like average people, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really tough. Very, very tough. So I'm gonna let you know that now. Side note, for those of you watching visually, I'm wearing the same sweater as I wore on my first episode, just for the sake of being sentimental and soft, because that's me. Something else that I've learned being on the pod is, this is something I feel like I already had kind of down, but I have it down more now than ever. Not caring about how you look. I've posted episodes with mascara messed up. I've posted episodes where I look big. And whether it be because of the camera angle or my eating habits that week, that shit was getting posted, because you have to treat this like your job. Like, when you do things for work, there's a deadline, and whatever you can do up to that deadline gets sent in. And it is what it is. If it's your best work, if it's your worst work, you had X amount of time to do said thing, you hand it in. And people like to think that when you own your own, project like this podcast, that you have the freedom of like, oh, but I could push this back. And it's like, if you have the thing, if you have the finished product, and the only thing stopping you from posting it is, my eyebrows look weird, or there's that one hair that it's been bugging me the whole episode. Who gives a fuck? Especially when you're just starting. I'm on both sides of the spectrum where I'm like, nobody's watching this shit. But I'm also like, there's sometimes that one important person watching. And regardless of the situation, that one important person doesn't give a fuck about the fact that you think you look 5 pounds too big, or that your eyebrow has one hair that's a little off or whatever. And on the other side, if nobody's watching, look at that. Nobody's watching. So nobody's even looking to care. Just post the damn thing. And everybody says it all the time. And if this thing has just been like, I forget what the idiom is about things that are drilled into you. There we go. That's not an idiom. Is that an idiom? That's not an analogy. Idiom? No, an idiom is like piece of cake. An analogy, this a metaphor. A metaphor. I went to school, guys. So, yeah. Consistency is key. And this is from somebody who posted once a day, every day for a year straight. That's absolutely insane, in my opinion. I think it's crazy. And I've been sick. I've gone on vacations. I've spent time with family. I've gone through like financial hardships, and I still manage to post every day. And it's because I make sure that I'm always at minimum 2 weeks ahead. So if I have a whole week where I fall off, I'm still a week ahead with social media posts, with YouTube posts. Like, I'm ready to go at all times. And that is something that you have to do if you want to be like a consistent online presence. So it's one thing I will advise to everyone: front load your work. Before I even started the podcast, I had 16 episodes ready to go. That's crazy. That's crazy. Even looking back, I'm like, what the fuck? But it's doable. Like, as someone who lives in New York City, who has a full-time job, who goes to the gym regularly, who has, a dog, who has family, who has a boyfriend, who's like doing all these life things, I still managed to do it. So this is me giving the little tough love thing that I always like to do, where I'm just like, if you want it enough, if you want it enough, you'll work for it. Or if you want it, that's not the word. Those aren't the words. What the fuck? No, if you want it bad enough, you'll get it. Yeah, I was on the right track. But yeah, like, I think that something that for those who fall off in this space, and this is, I'm talking like I got fucking 1 million followers, but I still think that this stands true. For everyone who falls off in this space, is just because they just didn't try hard enough for long enough. Like, I can't lie, I've had moments where I've just been like, should I even do this? Like, what is the point? Why am I doing this? Like, what am I getting out of this? And then, you get a message from a brand that wants to give you a free gift. And this happened to me twice. And it's like, that's just a little tiny taste of what's to come. And it just shows you that, like, it can happen. It's doable. And, you just don't know what you don't know. Like something amazing can happen over the next 2 months. And for those of you who listen often, my Pride episodes in June blew up and blew up to my standards, at least. I had several social media videos that hit well, into the Ks. Like I had one that's still going, that's in like the 200,000 views. And I have other ones that hit like 150, whatever. My YouTube videos, it's hard to get to even 1,000. And two of those Pride videos, one hit 9,000, the other one I think is like closer to 3 or 4. That's crazy. And I didn't expect it to happen. My guest wasn't someone with thousands and thousands of followers. Like, it just happened that, the right people caught wind of it. And that's all. You just need the right people to see you. Like, that's all that matters. And as soon as the algorithm picks you up, I can't say it's never going to drop you, but it's a good starting point. But once the ball is rolling, you just got to keep going. You got to keep posting. You just got to, because it just shows that it can work, that people are interested. Somebody's going to watch. There are people, that's another thing. There are people who consistently watch your stuff and you have no idea why. You're like, but it's just little old me. But you're a stranger to them. For all they know that, some people, I've had people who've watched me for a really long time and have thought that I've had thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers, like people who only know me from YouTube, and they comment or they DM me and they're like, yo, like I could have sworn that you were like, I don't want to use the word famous, but just like someone doing the thing, like a bigger person. And I'm like, no, not yet, but I appreciate it. I like that I give that off. I enjoy that. I really appreciate that. And it's just nice. It's just so nice. This podcast has been my life for the past year and it's taken up so much of my time. But when I tell you, like, I don't know, I full on believe in this and myself. Like, I was born to talk. If there's anything I leave this world remembering about me, is that a girl likes to talk. So, I don't know, Yip To My Yap makes sense to me. It just makes all the sense. All the sense. The next thing that I'm going to tell you is probably something that you might have already heard. You're going to come off cringy. Doesn't matter what it is that you pursue on social media, you will come off cringy. There will be people who say, look at this. Look at this girl. Like, she's over here acting like she's got this many followers, like she's all that, yada, yada, yada. And she's not. And regardless of whatever anyone is saying, one, they're likely not saying it to your face. And two, they're going to be the first ones up your ass once you do the damn thing. Once you finally get to the point that you want to get to, or once you get to whatever they consider credible enough to look up to or to care for, and they're not going to matter. So if you want to start something, I mean, I've seen other people do this too. Block everyone you know. Block everyone who knows you. Everyone. And if someone from really far down the line finds you, then you should be grateful because it's like, oh, hey, I reached someone, like clearly my stuff is getting suggested, But yeah, block everyone you know. Start the page. Who cares? Like the thing is, when you post on your regular page and you're just being yourself, people are still talking shit. They're still talking shit. They're going to do it regardless. Like, more often than not, you have somebody on a spam account, on a burner, who's watching you. It doesn't matter if your page is private because I would know this. You can see like the first 8 posts that anybody posts, no matter whether they're private or public, just on Google. Like, there's always somebody talking shit about you, whether you're trying to be someone or not. So like, just do it. Just do the thing. Like, I don't know. The way that I've learned this about myself because my boyfriend told me this the other day. Like, I've been doing like a lot of like content planning and stuff for the future and just ways to amp up my social media presence. And when I talk about certain things, he told me, he was like, you are very much always in the future. Like, you always talk as if you have 1 million subscribers. You always talk, as if, thousands and thousands of people are watching, or as if people are looking for your content for a specific thing. And that's how you got to think. Like, He didn't say it was a bad thing. That's not what he was saying. But he was just like, you know, it's a crazy thing that like, I noticed about you. Because a lot of other people don't do that. A lot of people are just like, okay, I only have 1,000 subscribers. Like, how would somebody, you know, with this following post and stuff? And I'm like, no, post as if you have the million something subscribers. Post as if you have the exact audience that you want watching you. Because they're not going to find you if you're not that person. So what are you going to be if you're not that? You know, like, it doesn't make sense to be anything other than what your target audience wants to see. And that's another thing, knowing your target audience. That was something I couldn't wrap my head around when I first started the podcast, and it's completely fine if you can't, because I was just like, I don't know, open-minded people who want to listen to this. And I'm like, yeah, that gives you fucking nothing. So I just say, you know, this is something I learned back in college. It's like, write down this one specific person who you're speaking to and drill down to the specifics. Like, is it a boy or a girl? What kind of hair do they have? Where do they live? What's their favorite movie? Make up a whole life for this person. And I'm sure if you have social media, you realize like I feel like none of our experiences are original. None of them. Absolutely none of them. So create this imaginary person and act as if you're talking to them. Because even when in my solo episodes, I reference things, I talk about things that I think that my target audience person would know. And I've met people who I can say the same things to, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. But you know, when you meet that, okay, I'm gonna give you an example. I had this one friend, he came over to my house for the first time like a few years ago. And I said something about like having snacks at the house. And then, you know, I guess he didn't know what kind of snack person I was, because it's true. I go to people's homes, they say I got snacks. Bitch, you got rice cakes. That's not a snack. But that's all to say, like, people grew up in different ways. But me and this friend, we grew up the same way, because when he came over and he saw that I had onion rings, he saw that I think I had cosmic brownies at the time. He saw that I had like 5 very distinct snacks that you likely only find in certain neighborhoods, in certain places in New York. And like, it was just a shared experience. It just gave us both an understanding of each other that we didn't have before, but we connected because we were like, those are certain things that we didn't have, like we didn't have to say anything, but we knew exactly what childhood the other person lived. And the same thing goes for like when you guys connect about like the same types of shows and stuff. So that's all to say, like, me and that friend, obviously we had already known each other or whatever, but we didn't know that about each other, and that alone brought us closer. So if I'm speaking, like, I didn't know any of those things about him. So if I'm speaking to someone who I feel, you know, relates to me, grew up with me, then there are thousands of people who will relate. First off, even I'm not even trying to go like, you know, down to like the New York experience, but even if I do, that's still a really big following. Like, even if the audience you're going for is very niche, there are so many of them. Go to your random like pottery page. You know, I mean, I'm just saying this because I'm like in the pottery world on social media. It's such good stuff. I love seeing them make things, or like ceramics as a whole, like little ceramic shakers, whatever. Go to one of those pages, right? It's usually some random girl who lives somewhere really far and remote or whatever in a studio. And this is her hobby. This is something that she really liked. This is something that she was called lame for when she was younger. And all she's making, you know, these posts and stuff for someone to enjoy, for someone to be satisfied by, for someone to just like to watch and entertain or to educate, whatever. Like, this one person who lives very differently than the rest of you, like, is creating these videos. We don't know who she is. Like, I'm just going by the example that I'm giving. But she has a love for something, a passion. And sometimes the audience just has to be other passionate people. People who care to know about the process, on top of, you know, owning a product, that they just want to know like how it's made. They want to know, they just want to know more, or they want to support small businesses. Like, that's an audience in itself. And the girl has like millions of followers. And it's not because everyone who follows is, you know, what's the word? A potter, a potterer, a pottery, just, you know, a pottery person, you know? Because I'm not. Like, if I could, you know, I'll go to like a class, but I'm not here sitting around making bowls and cups. But I enjoy it. And I'm sure that maybe me specifically, I'm not in her target audience, but she, you know, she got to me. But it's because she got her initial following first, the people who related really hard, who were just like, like you are my cup of tea for this reason. And I'm sure most of it is just because she is who she is. And then it just branches out from there. So don't be scared about a niche target audience. And on the side of like, the people who say to niche down versus like don't niche down, the people who say like touch on everything, and the people who say, oh, but just, keep it minimal to like this one thing. My advice on that, if you're like this is only for like people who are like their personalities are on camera. I think that for as long as you're yourself, that is the niche. Like, I know that I'm a very specific person. I know that I represent, New York. I know that I represent Hispanics. I know that I represent probably like, the Hispanics that are told they're too white, in certain spaces. But I know I represent a lot of different things, even the way that I speak, even the way that I grew up, like all the stories that I tell. I know I represent a lot of different things. And sometimes that can be the niche, because no matter what I talk about, you're hearing it through my lens. And sometimes that's enough. I can talk about a million different things, but what's special about everything that I talk about is that it's coming out of my mouth, and you cannot get this anywhere else. So, the whole audience thing, the niche thing, it's a touchy, blurry topic, just like anything else I talk about on this pod. But even if you're not 100% sure, I might just do the thing. Just do the thing. Just start. Just start. Once again, another thing. People say, just start, perfect later. It's true. Because there's nothing you cannot perfect something that doesn't exist. You can't. If it doesn't exist, there's no molding, there's no touch-ups, there's no revisions. It's just a thought. It's just a thought, and it's useless. Just start the thing, figure out what works, figure out what doesn't work. In the same way, like when I started this pod, I found out the thing about having 2 tracks instead of 1. I wouldn't have known that unless I just started. I wouldn't have known that, okay, before this episode, I rewatched most of my first episode, and it sucks so bad. It sucks so bad. I mean, for what I knew at the time, for the equipment that I had, all that stuff, great, amazing, beautiful. It was a great first episode, but it sucked. And I'm so happy that it sucked, because if I still thought it was great, that would mean I still suck. Like it's the best to look back at something that you started and to think that it wasn't amazing and that it wasn't great, because it only means you've improved. Now, if I look at episodes now and I'm like, oh, these are good, these are great, that's amazing, because it keeps up the morale, it keeps me motivated, but I know I will be better. But I haven't seen better to tell myself right now that this is bad, that what I'm recording right now is bad. And no one can tell me that it is, because I'm doing it. I'm doing the best of what I can, and that's what matters. Like, don't get in your head about what people say about your stuff. Don't get in your head about what you think of your own stuff. Just create, just do it. And when you're happy doing the thing, critiques don't even matter. Like, I was really scared when I first started this pod that like 6 months in, I would just kind of like give up and be like, actually, this is hurting me more than feeding me. This is just not, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I was so scared that that's what was going to happen. And then I kept on, recording podcasts. I kept doing what I was doing. I kept scheduling people. I kept editing, and it never drained me. Do I get stressed? Yes. Do I get tired? Yes. But I never felt drained. I never feel tired in the way that it's like I'm tired of living because I owe my life to this pod. Like, it's never been like that. It's just been like, no, I'm tired because I woke up at 6 a.m. to work on the pod before my 9 to 5. And then I went to the gym and I came home and worked on the pod from 10 to 12. And I, rinse and repeat. But that's just determination, discipline, and motivation, all that good stuff. All those words that you hear in little gym posts. Like, I enjoy this. I love talking to people. I love being on camera. So I love talking to people on camera. I love watching back the episodes while I'm editing and reading people's faces and being like, wow, that person did not fuck with me when I said that. But it just, like, I'm not looking back at it and being like, oh my God, I regret this conversation. I regret saying that, because I'm just being honest throughout. Like, The recording process, being honest, on camera, very honest. The relationships you see on camera are very real. When I'm editing, I'm so happy doing it. Like, I'm just like, I personally enjoy videography as a whole. So post-production, production, pre-pro, all of that. That's my thing. And I feel like when you find something that incorporates all the things that you truly enjoy, you're golden. You're golden. Like, you can start something and then it's just gonna take off and the time will pass and you'll blink and you're like, what the fuck? I'm on a jet. I'm going to an island. I mean, those are my goals. You know, I just want to be on a jet going to an island at all times. I want a private chef. You know, I want to live in 3 places at once. I want my dog to be living a luxurious life. You know, that's what I want. So yeah, like, it's been a year. Like, what the fuck? It's already been a year. And as much as, like, I'm so aware of how much of a presence this podcast has in my life and how many times I've told friends, like, nah, I can't make it out tonight. I got a podcast episode. Or it's like, you know, like, I'm editing an episode and I'm just working really hard on it because I have a vacation coming up. And I'm like, okay, I need to be ahead by this many steps in the editing process before I can go on this vacation with the peace of knowing that, like, when I come back, I'll be good. Like, as much as that happens, at no point am I like, what are the words? At no point am I thinking like this is dragging. At no point do I think that this is a waste of my time. Like, I enjoy this. I really do. And I was just gonna say, like, if this could be like my whole life, then that'd be amazing. But the whole point of me even speaking right now is to manifest and spread the idea that at some point it will be. So I don't know. I don't know what's coming. I'm excited for whatever it is. I think that already, you know, the pod has done more good for me than bad. I don't think it's done really any bad. I mean, it's done some bad, but nothing that weighs a crazy amount. Like, I've met great people and I've made a lot of good friends and I've learned more about other people. I've learned more about myself. I learned more about what I think about myself. I learned more about the way that I think because I have people on the pod who don't always agree with me, and that's great. I've learned how strong some of my friendships are because I can experience my friends in real time and then I watch us laugh together on the pod and I'm like, I love my friends so much. Like, it's just so nice. Wow, am I almost crying? What the fuck? Whoa. But I do. I love my friends so much, and I love watching us interact and just seeing, like, it's like watching a little mini movie. Like, this is a time capsule. Like, you know, I get to watch these episodes years and years and years from now, and I get to see little 24, 25-year-old me just living and getting through life and stuff. Like, oh my gosh. I'm so happy. I really am. And if whatever it is that you're doing creatively, if you've already started, you know, and whatever, if you've already started and you don't feel that way, if you don't feel excited, if you don't feel like this is, in a weird way, I guess, like your purpose, then stop. Really, just stop. If you're just doing it for money, if you're just doing it because you want to be cool, just stop. Just stop. It's not worth it. What else have I got for you guys and gals? I'm trying to give you as much as I've learned from doing this podcast, both emotionally and like very straightforward educationally, like, you know, tech stuff I've learned and all that, but it's so hard to put it all in one episode. But I think that, you know, the biggest thing when doing something like this is believing in yourself and trusting yourself. Believing in yourself enough to know that someday, whatever it is you're pursuing gets to the point that you want it to get to, but also trusting that you will do the work to get there. Because if you're unreliable, if you're an unreliable person to yourself, then it's like, this is not going to work. If you don't have the discipline, if you don't create a plan, that's another thing. Sometimes all you have to do is like create a plan, because a plan allows you to know what you have to do, when you have to do it, and you get to check it off a list when it's done. If you just have thoughts and beliefs and just like, yeah, one day I'm going to be big, I just don't know how I'm going to get there, you're never going to get there. And, you know, you could be like, Erica, this is all BS. This is how I think, you know? You can end this episode right now. You can just click the little X if you're not on the same page as me. You know what? I said that, and just like that. That's part of my audience. That's part of my target audience. People who believe in themselves. People who manifest great things, you know? Yeah. Positive people. Nice, warm, amazing, self-believing people. That's who I want on here. That's who I'm talking to. I think that's all I have for now. I feel like I didn't give you guys enough, but I will. I'll give you a part two if you'd like. I'm just happy we made it to a year. Happy 1 year. You know, I talked to my friend about this the other day. Every special episode I have about any holiday or any like specific thing, like in this case, an anniversary, I always forget to say the obvious thing. I forget to say Happy New Year. I forget to say Merry Christmas. I forget to say Happy Halloween. And so this is me saying Happy anniversary, Yip To My Yap. 1 year down, a lifetime ahead. I'm excited. I'm excited. I hope I got you excited. I hope that if you're starting something, that this gave you some kind of woo, you know, to keep you going. I hope I boosted your morale. I was just excited sitting down and doing this because there was no stress on this one. I'm always so happy to talk about the pod and my life with the pod. So if you want to see more like behind the scenes thoughts about the pod on my solo episodes, I can totally do that. Like I can give recaps about like this is some crazy thing that happened on the pod, yada, yada. But I don't know if you guys care enough to know that. So let me know if you want some like, you know, BTS information about like me and my guests, how I know my guests, anything. Like I'm so down to give that away, but like you gotta want it because I'm not gonna talk about it if it's just giving away words that you don't care about. So yes. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, or give me 5 stars if your platform allows you to do so. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that you're here. And just keep creating. I love you guys. Bye.